to see so many people joining this session with Benjamin Dennehy about Forget Everything You Know, how sales actually works. Benjamin, I'm super excited that you're joining us today. For those who don't know you yet, you're a sales speaker, interim sales director, and sales trainer, and class yourself as the UK's most hated sales trainer.
That's right. Soon to be Germany.
So, okay, good.
And there I Sebastian.
So to everyone watching, so please feel free to add your comments or questions to the chat, and at the end we'll have time for a short Q&A. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Benjamin. You may now share your screen.
All right. Okay, I'll share my screen. Go to Chrome tab, PAKCon. Right. So I'm assuming you can all see this. If you can't, I can't even tell. I can't hear you. Right. So let's crack on. So there's about 15 slides. Normally this is quite interactive, but obviously we're not going to engage. I can't, by the way, because I'm on a different screen, I can't see any of your comments. So you can make them as abusive as you like. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to see them. So, right, let's crack on. So let me ask you a question. If you were to stop the average person in the street and ask them to describe a salesman. You know, you got one word, sir. Describe a salesman. What words would they typically pick from? And I think you'll find most of them would be negative. You said to someone, describe a salesman. Most people would say things like pushy, greedy, selfish, rude. Some people put annoying. There are many other words. This one, for those of you who understand English humor, wanker. Yes. So, generally, the average person, if you ask them, how would you describe it, would give something negative. So you've got to ask yourself this question. If you met someone that you thought was a kind of pushy or rude or greedy sort of person, would you tell that person the truth the moment you met them? Would you tell that person the truth the moment you met them? And the answer to that is obviously no. And this is what is fundamental about sales. Most people in the sales process are lying, and prospects are always not telling the truth. So why is that important? Because I know that all of you watching this right now lie to salespeople. You all do it. You'll try and think you don't. You'll try and say, no, I don't tend to lie. But if you've ever said to a salesman, you'll think it over and never got back to them, that's a lie. Yeah, we're all allowed to lie. And where did we learn it's okay to lie in the sales process and never feel bad about it? Because I guarantee you've never felt bad about lying to a salesman. So where did you learn it? Because you weren't born with a natural dislike of salespeople. So it goes back to this. You watched your mum and dad your whole life buy, didn't you? And your whole life, I can imagine the situation now. It was 6 o'clock one evening. You were at home, dinner time. You're about 5, 6 years old. Everybody's there, mum, dad, brothers and sisters. You're sitting around the table and the phone rang. And your dad answered. And he goes, no, she's not in, sorry. And you go, who was that, Dad? He goes, sales call. Yeah, you've all experienced that. Or you were in the shop with your father and he was looking at the new DVD player or the VCR as it would have been in the 80s. And he's asking the salesman all these questions. Does it do this? Does it do that? And then the salesman tries to close your dad. Says, shall I wrap it for you, sir? And your dad turns to him and says, well, look, no, I need to discuss this with my wife, but I will be back. And you get out of the store with your dad and you look up with him with your big cow eyes. Are we going to get it, Dad? And he goes, nah, too expensive. So you learned from a very young age that it is perfectly legitimate to lie throughout the sales process. So I'm going to introduce you to something that you've always I know, whenever I meet salesmen, they always say selling shouldn't be as difficult as it is. It's harder than what it should be, and they don't know why. And I'm going to show you why it is. So do you remember that film, The Matrix? Have you ever seen the film, The Matrix? And in it, there's a scene where he gets the option of 2 pills, the blue or the red. Well, this is that moment, because what I'm about to show you now, this is why people hate me, because once you see this, you can never undo this. So even if you don't like me, well, I don't care if you like me by the end of this presentation or not, but what I do know is that what I'm about to show you is going to irritate you to the day you die, because you're going to recognize that it's what's happening to you. So if you take the red pill, you're going to go down the rabbit hole. If you don't take it, well, you don't have a choice. You're all going to take the red pill. Here we go. The buyer-seller matrix. And I'm going to introduce you to this. Just like in the film The Matrix, there are 2 realities, the one you want to believe and the one you don't know exists. Buyers have a system that you don't know you're a part of. And you don't know this because actually you spend more of your life buying stuff than you do selling. You are a buyer by nature. You just stick on a little hat that says salesman. And that is why selling is so tough, because every time you go out there in the field, there's just a hat on that's part of sales. The rest of you is a buyer. So what is the matrix and what does it look like? The matrix is this. The first thing that prospects will do to you is lie. You're allowed to lie to a salesman. Now, I want to caveat that. When I say lie, I don't mean outright tell complete porkies. You know, night is day, day is night, black is white, white is black. Yes, they can do that. But often as a prospect, you know this, you've lied by omission, haven't you? You've deliberately left things back because you didn't want the seller to know it. Or you exaggerate or you embellish. So we always lie throughout the sales process. But how do we do it? How do prospects lie to us? They say things like this. They could say they're interested when they're not. They could say they're not interested when they are. They could say they have no budget when they do. They can say they have budget when they don't. They can say they make the decision when they don't. They can say they'll think it over and never think of it again. They can say, in fact, think about it. There is literally nothing that a prospect can say to a salesman that is off the cards and is considered unfair. And I know as you're looking at all of these things here, you've thought to yourself, at some point in your life, you have used one or all of these or a deviation of them. Everybody lies in the sales process. But as a prospect, even though I've lied to you, you may have something I want. So there's another caveat. As a prospect, I may want what you have. There's just one caveat. I don't want to what for it. If I don't have to, why would I do this one thing? And that one thing is, I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay. If I could get the solution to my problem for free, why would I pay for it? So the next step in the matrix is my job as a prospect is to lie to you. I'm really very interested in what you and your company do. Be very interested in having a chat with you. Why don't you come and see us and explain to us how you think you can help us? All of that could be total nonsense because the reason you're there is I want to steal. I want to pump you for as much information as I can. That's right. This is the bit that a salesman thinks is the best bit, the bit where they get to talk about what they do. But a prospect's job is to pump you for information. How do they do it? Through questions. Now here, I'm going to let you into a little psychology here, folks. From the moment you were born, be you German, French, British, Italian, Indian, Chinese, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, because I've worked with companies across the world. We've all been taught the same way, all raised the same way. And we were all raised from a very young age that we must answer a question. Think about it. You weren't born programmed to answer a question. You were programmed. You were sitting on your mother's lap, and as she pointed at pictures of animals in the book, she was going, what's that? What's this? What's that? And what happened if you got it right? You got praise. Yay! And you got that look of affection, and you felt wanted and loved and needed and liked. You got approval. And approval is a very important thing to a young child. And your whole life, you were asked questions. Now, what happened if you got the question wrong? Your mum points to a liar and you said tiger. Now, of course, depending on your childhood, it could have been a clip round the ear, locked in the basement, or most of us, hopefully, had relatively normal childhoods. And all mum would say is, no, try again. So you try again, you say tiger. She goes, no. What else could it be? And you finally get, you go lying. Yay! And you got praise again. And what you discovered from a very young age is that if you answered a question and gave the right answer, you were liked. You were praised. You felt wanted. And you carry that through your whole life. Let me ask you a question, everybody out there listening to this. Were any of you told once, growing up, that answering a question by anyone older or in authority is optional? I bet you weren't. And were any of you told that rule does not apply as a grown-up? Nope, none of you were either. Right now, I guarantee you answer questions without even knowing you're answering them because the brain is so programmed. So prospects don't know this, but they certainly know how to milk it. So their job is to invite you in, and they ask you things like, can you do this? Can you do that? How long will it take? Who have you worked with? Have you worked with a company like ours? What are the likely headaches? Loads of questions, very technical questions, very specific questions. And the whole time you've been programmed through most crappy sales training that you should get good answers, affirmative answers, product knowledge, fill your head with product knowledge, and then vomit it all over your prospect when asked. And you think you're doing a good job. In fact, the better the answer, when they look at you, you go, that's a really good answer. I like that. That's nice. You get that warm, fuzzy feeling you had as a child, and you get that affirmation. Remember, most salesmen don't go to sales meetings to sell. They go so that they can get back to the office and say, it went really well. I think they liked us. That is why most of you are in sales. For most of you, this is Tinder. You found a way to meet strangers and get paid without necessarily having to have sex. That's why you went into sales. Now, once they've pumped you for information, what normally happens at this stage in a sales meeting? You're in a meeting, you've done your dog and pony show, you've explained all about how you can help them and what you can do for them. And then what do? What do you try and do? What does the average salesman try and do at this point? They try and close, don't they? Try and get some form of commitment. But all of a sudden, what happens? What do prospects tend to do at this juncture in the meeting? Well, they lie again, but in the form of a mislead. And by mislead, skip that slide because I've already said it. Mislead. They mislead. Now, how do they mislead you? Have you ever noticed when the sales meeting usually starts to go downhill after you've shared your knowledge? What do? I'm going to leave that up there. You can read that. But as the meeting comes to an end, they mislead, and they do it in 3 ways. The first mislead is stalls. They say things like, unfortunately, budgets aren't set. We need to discuss this internally. Facetiously, we don't buy on days that end in a Y. Or we need to have an internal timeline conference. Or I can't make a decision now. Or we need to see X, Y, and Z. There's some stall to prevent them moving forwards with you. Or they use objections. They say things like, well, we met with ABC company and they're cheaper, faster, and better. Well, why are you so expensive? Or, well, we went with others and they said that this can't be done. Or, well, why would I use you? And so on. They throw out these objections to force you to try and justify and defend your existence. Or the other way they do it is higher authority. Ever been in front of someone who said they're the decision maker? You do your presentation, your dog and pony show, and then they say something like, well, if it were up to me, we'd start today. What do you mean? Well, obviously, I ultimately make decisions, but I ain't going to do this without discussing it with somebody else. I love it, but I got to run it past my finance director, my board, my lawyer, my chiropractor, whoever. There's always some other form of authority that pops up. And then, what do now, though? They ask you to do something at this point, don't they? And you know what it is. They normally ask you to do something like, you couldn't do a proposal, could you? You couldn't send us over an email explaining everything we've just been through. You couldn't do a quote. They always ask you to do something for them, some sort of document. You'll call it a proposal or a quote or whatever. I call it document your stupidity. You couldn't put in written form everything you've just spent the last hour vomiting all over us, could you? Because I want that document. And then they get it and they got 5 things they can do with it, isn't it? What are those 5 things? They can do nothing. How many of you have sent out a proposal and nothing happens? Happens all the time. I reckon lots of proposals are filed and B for bollocks. Never look at it again. So do nothing is one thing. Do it themselves. This is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping you'll give me enough information to maybe have to fix this problem on my own. And I get 3 or 4 companies in that all do the same thing, each sending over a proposal between each of you, because you'll leave out certain bits because you don't want me to know everything. Between the lot of you, maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to figure out how to do it myself or hire someone to come and do it for me. I could take it back to an existing supplier and beat them up over the head with it. Look, I told you we're thinking about leaving. We've met with ABC company. This is what they can do. Can you do it? And we know what most companies in that situation do. It's easier to keep business than find new one. They're going to find a way to make it work. Or they could shop it around. Shop it around. That's what they do. Thank you for the document. Now I'm going to go use this and shop it around to all the places that I want to see if I can get the same stuff, but cheaper. And then finally, they could give it to you. They could give it to you. It could come back to you. And it does sometimes come back to you. But you've got about a 1 in 5 chance that if you do any form of proposal or quote, that it's going to come back to you. So, then what do? Once they get that proposal, what happens? You know this because I know this is where you spend most of your life, folks. They hide, don't they? Don't they suddenly disappear? Don't you suddenly get access to voicemail hell? Have you ever noticed that? You're phoning and you're phoning and you're phoning. You can't get a hold of them. You send them emails. They go unanswered. You're scratching your head. I don't understand. They were so keen when we first met with them. They asked all the right questions. They liked us. But they got what they wanted from you. They use you. And then you get a little sneaky. You become the very thing you tell everyone you're not. I bet most of you say you're not one of those pushy salesmen. Phoning somebody 30 times over 3 months chasing a proposal that they willfully have chosen to ignore is the definition of pushy. Let me ask you a question. If you went on a date with a woman or a man or whatever your preference is, and you get to the end of the evening and she said, I've had a really great time. I'll be in touch. And you phone that person 30 times in the next 3 months, what's going to happen to you? Yeah, that's right. You're going to get arrested and you're going to go to jail because it's harassment. Yeah. For some reason, salespeople see it as tenacity, persistence. It's not. It's creepy. Yeah. It also is what 70% of a salesman's time is spent doing, chasing people that apparently forgot to buy from them. So how many emails, messages are you having now that go unanswered? How many are you leaving? Finally, so I'm going to put it side by side so you can see the matrix in all its glory. The buyer will lie, steal, mislead, and hide from you. Why do they do this? Because the seller qualify. Most sellers qualify badly. Money, authority, and need. Are you the decision maker? Yes, probably a lie. Do you have any money? Notice how when you ask questions like that, what sort of answers do prospects give? They say things like, well, if I like what I see, I'll buy. That's very wishy-washy. Or I can find it if I need it. Money's no object. You'll notice they very rarely will say to you, well, funny you should ask me, Benjamin. We actually specifically ring-fence £20,000 to fix this problem. Now, yes, that may happen every now and then, but it's the exception. It's not the rule. Most of the time, they give a wishy-washy, non-committal answer. But what is a salesman here? Yes. And then, is this something you need or you're interested in? Again, wishy-washy language. We're very interested. It's something we've been considering. We've been exploring possibility. We have had discussions about this internally. It's definitely on the horizon. They never say, well, funny you should ask, actually. This is exactly what we need. I can't believe you phoned me. No, they don't do that. All a salesman here is yes. He now classifies this as a qualified lead. It's in the pipeline at 70 to 75% possibility of closing. You know you've done it right now. You're already thinking of your pipeline, aren't you? And then what does a salesman do? He gets in front of a prospect. What is the number one thing every human being loves talking about? That's right, themselves. So what is the number one thing a salesman loves talking about? That's right, himself and his product. He can't wait to get in front of prospects to present what they do. Oh, sure, you'll ask some questions to try and understand them and their business and, get under their skin. But in reality, you're only asking questions that will enable you to talk about you and your product. Prospects know this. And so you just want to feature, advantage, and benefit the poor bugger to death. This is how we do it. This is why we're good. These are some case studies. These are the types of results you can expect. Vomit, 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 vomit. The whole time the prospect's taking notes and asking questions and you're happily answering. And then once they've presented, you know what happens now. What happens now? What do you try and do? You try and close me. Notice how this all lines up. I get you on under false pretenses and never tell you the full truth and the reason why you're there. You come in and present to me about what you think you could do for me. Whilst you're doing that, I'm pumping you from information and stealing from you as much as I can. You try and get me to commit, but I've already figured out before you came in how I'm going to get out of this without having to commit. Haven't I? You know this. You're a buyer. You know how you're going to end a sales meeting before the salesman's come in, don't you? Don't tell me you don't. Don't lie to me. Well, you can. I just know you are. And once they've misled you, they ask you to document your stupidity. You go back to the office. I can't prospect, boss. Can't do anything productive. Got to work on this document. And then you chase and you chase and you chase. Now, if you recognize this, if you can say, I recognize that, I can help you. But I'm not going to show you how to do that today. Why would I do that? This is what I stop people doing. This is what every company I work with suffers from. Every CEO, every MD I've got in front of said that pretty much describes our sales process. Do you know how much money this matrix costs? Do you know how much time this matrix consumes? Ladies and gentlemen, if you suffer from, if you recognize this in your world, for an exclusively, extremely expensive fee, I can help you. So, I think that's the end of my presentation. Oh, there we go. Yep, that's how you can get in contact with me. I don't know if we have time for questions. Nobody's butted in. I'll go back to the other screen and I'll see where we go. So that's it. That's time's up. Yes, 2 seconds. Woo!
Yes, sorry, Benjamin, I didn't want to interrupt you. Everyone was having so much fun. Thank you so much. This really brightened my day. It was amazing. I couldn't stop you for the life of me because it was hilarious. Thank you so much.
I've never done it so fast. It's like
that was amazing. That was on point and on time. So thank you so much. We're now heading over to Wonder.
Yes. I'll be there for about 20 minutes, folks.
Yeah. So I think I'll have to post the link again because
I don't know where to go. Yeah, I can't. All these thanks for the journey. Perfect 10. Thank you, Neil. Perfect 10. I'll take that. I need the strokes.